A warm welcome to the Corporate Startup Fusion 2022. My name is Johannes Sommerhäuser. I'm heading the corporate innovation team at Bosch, and together with my colleagues Luisa and Manuel, we will be the hosts of this event today. The past 2 years were, I trust for most of us, particularly challenging, and therefore we are extra happy today to have you here live in Reutlingen and some 700 colleagues live in the stream for this event. Today, we will have an interesting and exciting lineup of keynotes. We will have interactive sessions during the event, and we will have panel discussions where we'll cover different topics, such as strategic ambition, various innovation disciplines, as well as corporate leadership and the topic of ambidexterity.
Also, a very warm welcome from my side. Corporate Startup Fusion. What do we actually mean with the fusion? A fusion is well known to kind of everybody of you here. It's a union of different things. In our case, a union of all people here on site in Reutlingen and of all the people in the live stream. We want to create a fusion of different perspectives, of lessons learned, best practices on corporate innovation. Why should we reinvent the wheel individually instead of joining forces? But that's not the only fusion today. We also want to create a fusion between the corporate world and the startup world. We want to bring the best of both worlds together, the strength and the power of the corporate and the speed and the agility of the startup.
And as you will surely have seen, our event does have a subtitle which is Explore Your Way to Success. Now, we've chosen this on purpose as innovation does not have a clearly laid out road to success, but it has many different paths which have to be discovered, explored, tested, and validated. Failure along that way is highly probable, but it is welcomed and seen as a stepstone for learning. So, despite this uncertainty, there are some signposts that lead the direction for successful innovation and exploration. And today, we will have a deep dive into these topics. So I would say, let's have a look at our speakers.
Exactly. So we are thrilled to have so many great speakers on stage today. Many of them took a long way to travel here. Thank you very much. One of them is Andre Marquis from University of California, Berkeley, as well as Andre Binz from ChangeLogic, and Charles O'Reilly, professor at Stanford University.
We have with us today Klaus Fleischer from Bosch e-bike systems, Eli Almenas from Mann & Hummel, and Erich Kruschitz from Sanus X.
We also welcome Silja P. from Audi and Tobias Eismann, as well as Karina Rempel from Siemens.
We have here Mark Seal from UC Berkeley, Martin Cotter from Analog Devices, and Jan-Philipp Weers from Bosch Secure Truck Parking.
And we're also happy to welcome 3 colleagues of our own ranks, Johannes Sommerhäuser, Uwe Kirschner, and Sarah Carvalho.
And as you will surely have guessed, my dear colleague Luisa Wagner and myself, Manuel Krauß, will be your moderators for today and lead you through this event. Johannes, Luisa, I think we've got a fantastic lineup for today, and we're already thrilled about all the keynotes and speeches and also discussions to come. So you may find our agenda online, or all of you here in this location, you also have a printed out version in your goodie bags. So I would say, let's jump right into the world of corporate innovation.
Yeah, thank you, Manuel. Before we start with the first keynote, I would like to take the opportunity to give some introductory remarks on corporate innovation. When we look into corporate innovation, and I mentioned that in the beginning, it's a mix of various disciplines. And if you compare this with a picture from sports, you might end up with decathlon. Also here, it's relatively useless to be excellent only in one discipline and to neglect the other ones. At the end of the day, you have to be good at all of them in order to become successful. Secondly, corporate innovation and success in corporate innovation, it's not depending on one person only. It's normally a joint effort, also a joint success, and the different capabilities, competencies, and experience of the team members form a successful group, a successful team, in order to make it to success. And thirdly, and this is also important to mention, there is no one-fits-all approach. It's useless to try to convey the experience, the approaches of one corporate into another one, particularly when they are coming from different industries or domains. However, there are some success factors that are generic and they have proven to be supportive for all of us. And on those, we would like to focus today in our event. With this, I would say, Luisa, so let's get started.
Exactly. So it's time to welcome our first speaker on stage. You may ask yourself, what does it need to drive corporate innovation successfully in your organizations? And there's hardly anyone better to ask this than our colleague Uwe Kirschner. Uwe Kirschner is Vice President and Partner for Bosch, for Business Model Innovation at Bosch Innovation Consulting. With his many years of experience in different sectors, he has been able to develop an extensive knowledge on how to drive business model innovation at scale. Today, we have the pleasure to welcome you on stage to tell us your secret success factors for corporate innovation. Uwe, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Luisa, for that lovely introduction. Well, let's see if there are secret success factors. My innovation journey already started back then in the year 2015. And I'm pleased to share one of the other learnings we've gathered in more than 300 internal and external innovation projects around the globe. So when I went on that journey, I asked myself, is there a systematic way of doing innovation? Should there even be a systematic way of innovation? Later on, we're going to see and talk about creativity. So are we killing with a process again all the creativity which for sure exists in our organizations? Or are we just waiting for the next Steve Jobs to arrive in our organization, in yours, in ours, to tell us, what the next decacorn will be? Well, I believe the more I've been working on the topic of business model innovation, and Johannes touched on this topic, is there are some things you can do correctly. There is a systematic way. There is a way to avoid the most important pitfalls around innovation, and that's what we have been doing around by establishing what we call the Bosch Innovation Framework. It's a process which has been designed, first of all, with our dear colleagues from the User Experience Department, our friends from Technology Department, from our colleagues, our innovation coaches and experts around the globe. Interestingly, I would argue, if you look at the process, and don't worry, I won't go into detail, I just want to touch upon a couple of aspects. It starts with strategic framing. And you might ask the question, why? Well, we've learned over time that it makes sense to check very early in your innovation process whether the innovation idea really fits to the strategic intent your organization, your business unit has. And if not, guess what? It's already an opportunity to stop the venture right away and to look for others which, of course, have a fit. Another important mind shift I would like to add is organizations have been traditionally very successful in the technology development and product development. Don't take me wrong. Organizations should maintain that strength. But even more in these challenging days, it is needed that we really concentrate on our customers, our existing customers, our hopefully future customers, and we really thrive in their concerns, their needs, their expectations, their aspirations, and then by using, for example, creativity methods, that we build upon these insights convincing product, service solutions, which are differentiating and which are successful in the market. Once you have that, by applying, for example, leading business model methodologies, well, there is a very important step along your innovation path, which is the validation. I come back to this point in a second. And not done with that, even if you've managed to successfully initially validate your business idea, you need to incubate and you need to scale your business. Now, let me share only some of the success factors we've collected over time. Again, back to the strategy. I am totally convinced every organization needs to have clear, purposeful, bold hunting zones. They need to be concrete. Your associates need to understand them. Where do you want to be? In which fields do you want to be successful? And very important, it's not good enough to just address your existing core business. You also need to ask the question, in which adjacent and beyond business fields do you want to be successful? By applying your existing capabilities, by learning as an organization new capabilities, and if needed, to also acquire, for example, through M&A activities, new capabilities. And with that, you are able to address new markets which might be new for you or even entirely new for the world. Second success factor. We believe successful organizations do actually both. They run an exploit and an explore portfolio. So for those here in the room and the live stream certainly, we all know, looking at our existing business, that portfolio management with the classical activities, fix, sell, or close, we are all used to that. This is probably nothing new. But what is also needed is that, first of all, maintain this as an organization, but also do something in addition. And this is exactly work on your explore portfolio. Understand, first of all, do you have enough projects? Which maturity do they have? What is required to further drive their success? And which, finally, will be those very few business ideas which really have the potential to scale? So again, do both. Exploit, explore, portfolio management. Third, successful organizations run a rigorous validation and incubation process. Again, looking at how traditional organizations have been working on the innovation, well, they've placed few bets on a couple of ideas, usually well-researched projects, with executive on, with lots of budget on. But the problem is, given or provided a high failure rate, that probably you are investing too much resources on projects which will never scale. For that reason, with this understanding, we at Bosch decided to launch a program, what we call the Bosch Accelerator Program. It's a validation program in which we systematically test, validate numerous ideas around the globe. And this in a capital-efficient way. Why? Because only based on customer insight, on market insight, on evidences, we decide whether a team, together with the team, they have reached the sufficient evidences to justify further investments and the next sprint to continue. And with that, we are able to identify those very few innovation ideas which really have the potential to scale. In this context, and this is a continuous discussion around the globe in innovation, what are the right KPI to address in innovation? Turnover, return on investment, profit. Well, I would argue certainly in the exploit business, in the core business, these are very important figures. If the organization is not profitable enough, it's clear how it will end. Therefore, it's correct. But unfortunately not for early stage, immature innovation projects. And it's just wrong to ask the team, so how much money will you make? And give me the right number, and only if you provide me the right number, I'm able to fund you. Organizations shall work on state-of-the-art criteria. For mature innovation projects, at a certain point, don't get me wrong, you certainly need to also ask them, will your idea scale and will it be profitable? Certainly, but not for early stage. And particularly for early stage innovation projects, we've developed criteria like, we look at the team, the capabilities. Do they have the right capabilities to proceed? What's missing? Is after the validation, after pivoting, is the idea still fitting to our strategic intent? Do we really understand the customer? We call this the must-have customer problem. Do we have an idea to build among these concerns, these aspirations, suitable business concepts which really address the must-have problems of the customers? And, very important, how will the value delivery look like? And, very important, at the end of the day, is it really a repeatable, scalable business model which will achieve the turnover targets we expect as a corporate organization? Fourth and last, success factors. Innovation, and Johannes was touching upon this topic, innovation is really a challenging topic. There are so many things, why at the end of the day, an innovation project is not successful. So therefore, we encourage you, don't start from scratch always, again and again. Bring in innovation experts. Ask yourself, what is missing? Which capabilities are missing in your team? What is required to really drive their success? Bring in these experts and make them successful, at least in successfully validating or successfully invalidating their respective business idea. I'm pleased to welcome a couple of our selected partners here in the room. And we always have not been shy, and also I want to share this openly, to also engage with leading institutions, with leading associates, with leading people around the globe around innovation. And today we have André Marquise and Mark Seal from Berkeley and Hypershift here, so I'm really pleased that you're here and you are our long-term partners on our journey how to successfully validate. We've been also working intensively for the University of St. Gallen, and I'm also particularly honored to reconfirm and to say it here on stage that we have Andy Binns and Charles O'Reilly from Change Logic. They are also our partners, long-time partners, around how to successfully innovate and how to address, for example, the topic of the ambidextrous challenge. He will touch on later on today. I'm looking forward to that. So, are these all success factors around innovation? No. Otherwise, we could end the meeting right here and say, have a nice afternoon. No, definitely not. Yeah, there are many, many more. So I'm totally excited. I'm looking forward to this Startup Fusion event. So that's the first impulse from Bosch. Let's continue our session. Thank you.